Hello and welcome to another tutorial from BensBox. Today we're going to be looking at the PHP while loops. Okay, if you're new to PHP and you're just looking through all the PHP tutorials, this may seem a little bit more complicated, especially since you probably won't really get any idea of the uses of it until you start the series anyway. Basically what a PHP while loop does, it does a certain task whilst a condition turns out to be true. Okay, so this task can be done numerous times whilst that condition that is set is true. So as you can see at the moment on my browser, I have this is count 0, this is count 1, all the way up to 4. Okay, so if I just open up the script and I'll show you basically what I've done. Okay, so as usual I've got my PHP tags to define that as PHP, and then what I've done here, I've set a variable, I've called it count, and set the value at 0. Okay, we're going to use this count variable to increment it each time, so the value is increased by 1 each time, and it's going to be this count that determines whether or not the while loop stays running or if it turns out to be false and it cuts. Alright, so just bear that in mind, and here obviously we have a while which defines the while loop. Okay, so what you do, you write while, and then you again, if you just look at the if statement, it's the same as that. You have your normal brackets, and in between the normal brackets is where you have your condition. Okay, and then after you have your curly brackets again, and that is where you just define the task. Alright, so what's going on here then is that whilst, which is while, the variable count, the value of count, is less than 5, it's going to print this is count, and then the variable's value, then the HTML break. Okay, and then after it prints that, it's going to add 1. Okay, so plus plus basically means the value of this variable plus 1. Okay, so it's the same as count plus 1, but plus plus and minus minus, obviously minus takes away 1, plus plus add 1. It's just a little bit easier. Okay, so what's going to happen is 0 is less than 5, so it's going to print this is count 0 and break, and add 1 to 0 here. Okay. And then again, because the condition turned out to be true, it's going to go 1 is less than 5 because count is now equal to 1. Print this is count 1, break count which is equal to 1, add 1 which is now 2. Okay, this is going to do this all the way up until count is equal to 4. Okay, so it's still less than 5, so it's going to be true. Print this is count 4, break count, add 1 which is now going to equal to 5. Okay, so count 5 smaller than 5, which turns out to be false, and that's where it's going to stop. Okay, so that's where you can see that only goes up to this is count 4. Okay, so I don't know if that seems complicated or reasonably simple. Okay, but just the foundations of this is that whilst the condition turns out to be true, it is going to do the task that is provided for it. Okay, and as soon as the condition turns out to be false, this while loop stops and carries on with the rest of the script if there is some. Okay, so that's it should be pretty simple. What we'll do now, we'll just change it around a little bit just so you can see another example. We're going to create an array, so hopefully you've seen the array tutorial. So do this for your basic array. We'll just do A, B, C, D, E. That's an F, R even, so let's change it back to E. Okay, and I don't know if I showed you this function tool, but what we'll do, we'll call this our A count. Okay, so this is going to be our array account. So what this does here, it counts how many items are in the array. Okay, so this function here, count. Okay, it's not gone blue on Notepad for some reason. Okay, but count with 2 normal brackets. And whatever array has been put inside of the brackets will get counted. So the value of this at the moment is going to be 5 because we have 5 items in here, A, B, C, D, and E. Alright, and then we'll just create a simple one, I, and we're going to make this 0. So this is going to be like our count here that we had before, but instead of writing count each time, I'm just going to write I to save a little bit of time. Okay, so what we're going to do for this while loop, whilst we have basically what it's going to do is going to run through each array item separately. Okay, and then it's going to print out the value of each array item. So how we're going to do this, we're going to write whilst I, so at the moment it's 0, is less than a count. So whilst the value of this is less than the amount of items in this array, we'll print this is array. No, it's capital A array. And then we'll actually print out the array value. Okay, so we're just going to write $ARR and then I in between the two square brackets, because this is going to be the ID of each array. So obviously the first one is going to be 0, I 0, so A is equal to 0, B is equal to 1, C is equal to 2, D is equal to 3, E is equal to 4. Okay, and then we just, instead of this being count, we need to change this to I. So each time I gets incremented by 1, and that is it. So if I show you again in the browser, it should hopefully work. Fingers crossed. There you go. This is array A. This is array B. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so we'll just run over that again, just to make sure that you understood that. So what we have here is just an array. So hopefully you know how to do them by now. Each array is given the default ID, which obviously starts at 0, and then carries on at 1 at a time. Okay, and then what we've done, we've used a count function here to get a total of the amount of items there are in the array, which so a count is equal to 5 no matter what. It's a count, sorry. And then we've just used a quick variable called I, and we set this at 0, which is going to be our counter for the while. So because the array starts at 0, okay, it ends at 4, but the count is set to 5, even because there is 5 items, we need to do less than rather than less than equals to. Otherwise, it's going to be looking for the array with the ID of 5, which doesn't exist, okay, because it only goes up to 4. Okay, so what we do is I, 0, it's less than 5, because that's the count. Print this as an array, so we print the array, and because each time is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 here, we just stick I in it, and then it prints the correct list item. Alright, and then each time, as the while loop runs, we're going to add 1 to the value of I. And that's going to keep going and keep going and keep going. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. Just a pointer, sometimes you can write in a loop that does not stop, okay, an endless loop. And they are big trouble, especially on this laptop anyway. It does not like it. Basically, my laptop dies as if I create a loop that runs forever. Basically, the reason you can create an endless loop, so let me show you. If I just create this instead, so whilst I, which is at the minimum value it can be, is 0, because we add one each time, is greater than or less than equal to 0. Okay, it's going to print out this. Now, obviously, I is always going to be greater than or equal to 0, because we're only adding 1 each time. And obviously, tell me when this is going to stop. It's not going to stop, obviously, because it's just going to carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on. Luckily, a lot of the browsers do notice this and do cut the script after a while, but normally it's too late. So what I'll suggest is when you do try this out, and hopefully you will, just so you can get a few examples in your head, double check that this this while loop is going to stop at some point. Okay, otherwise you are going to have a few problems. Okay, so hopefully you understand that while loop. We are going to be looking at another loop in the next tutorial. Okay, so I'll see you there. Cheers.